Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another one of my Dota 2 hero guides. Today we're going to be taking a look at Dragon Knight. So Dragon Knight is a hero that's pretty much been played mid for the entirety of Dota 2's history, but recently has actually been transitioning into more of an offlaner. There's a lot of different mid heroes like that have been transitioning into an offlaner kind of, dual hero that can go to either lane. But regardless of what lane this hero goes to, you pretty much play it the same way. It has the same strengths, same weaknesses. I think the only real difference is from the mid lane, you can transition into a little bit more of a right-click hero. You can kind of do more right-click damage, be a little bit more of like a semi-carry, if you want to call it that. Otherwise, this hero does relatively similar things. And this is a very good all-around hero. This hero does a little bit of everything. It's very solid in the laning stage. Hard to really kick this hero out of lane. Hard to have a bad lane with Dragon Knight, honestly. You just have high regen, high armor. You sustain. You're very hard to kill. You just secure your CS. You secure your farm. You secure your laning stage. Once you hit level 6, you take towers very, very easily. This hero is just great all around. You have a very long-range single target stun. You farm relatively well now, actually, with the Agnum Shard once it hits 15 minutes. You're just kind of a great all-around hero. You do decent right-click damage. You have decent right-click slow later on once your ultimate is up. The main weakness of this hero is twofold. If you don't have your ultimate up, obviously you just kind of are half a hero. You're not as good as other heroes. So he's very ultimate focused. His ultimate, doesn't have a lot of downtime, but when it does have downtime, he's just not that good anymore. You also are very single target focused in a sense that, your stun is single target. You do have a little bit of AoE, but you're not great against like illusion heroes. You're also very armor focused and HP focused. You don't have a lot of, magic resistance or anything like that built in. So if there's a lot of lockdown and magic damage over time, you can melt in that way, even though you are a strength hero. You're basically, a counter to armor like heroes, but there are some, pure damage, magic damage, these kinds of things. You're not super tanky against those things, and you don't love to build hood or other magic resistance items on this hero. You mainly like to build like blink, you mainly like to build initiation, HP, attack damage, all these kinds of things on the hero. You don't love like magic resistance. That's not really what your hero does. So it's kind of a great all-around mid or offlane hero. I think this hero can be very, very good for new players to learn how to play Dota in general. He's tanky, he takes towers, he team fights really well, all these kinds of things. Just a great all-around hero that doesn't have a lot of like hard counters. It's just more of a good team fighter and making sure you have your ultimate up. So that's Dragon Knight. That's how to understand him in general and what he does conceptually. Now let's jump in and take a look at his abilities. So now that we understand Dragon Knight in general, we can take a look at his abilities and see how he's able to be that good all-around hero like I talked about. So first we're going to take a look at Dragon Blood. This is his passive, and you can see it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. You get health regen and armor with every level, and this is one of the abilities that makes him a really, really good laner because you're so hard to trade with. You just get this regen, you just get this more resistance to right clicks with armor and these kinds of things. So once you get a few levels in this, it can be so hard for the enemy to kick you out of lane. You pretty much will just secure your CS. You'll lane pretty effectively, and there's almost nothing they can do to counter this once you get a few items. Now keep in mind, there's no magic resistance component to this, but you are a strength hero. You generally have high HP, these kinds of things. There are some matchups that threaten you, so you do need to be wary of that. But otherwise, this ability is just really good all around, and even later into the game, you can't underestimate 12 armor. That's just always going to be pretty good, even later on into the game, especially for a strength hero that generally has high HP and doesn't really buy a lot of armor items or doesn't get armor naturally through the agility that you gain. You get it, but you just don't have as much agility gain. So basically having that extra armor is really, really good for this hero. Then we can look at Breathe Fire. This is the Q ability. So the Q ability, Breathe Fire here, just shoots fire out in a direction. So you can see I'll just breathe fire there, and basically everything in the direction that you breathe gets damaged and also gets applied this debuff. So you can see there's this Breathe Fire debuff. I'll do it again there. And you can see it's a pretty long duration. And what that debuff does is it actually reduces the damage by 25%. So this is just another way that you can lane really effectively. You can use this to secure CS, to secure range creeps, use it to harass, and then once you harass the enemy, you're trading better with them anyway because they're doing less damage. You're out CSing them. You have this armor and regen as well once you get a few levels. It's just really good overall, so you can see how this hero can be a very powerful laner. Not necessarily super aggressive, but just very, very hard to, out lane and dominate against. So that's a Breathe Fire. It's also the ability you're going to be using pretty much early on to clear creep waves, push creep waves, farm jungle camps, all these kinds of things. Pretty straightforward there. Next, we're going to look at Dragon Tail. So Dragon Tail is another simple ability, straightforward. Basically, it's a stun. You can just click it on the enemy, and it just stuns them for a good duration. Pretty long duration single target stun, and it's pretty much instant when you just walk up in melee range and cast it on them. You can get like 1 point in this in lane to just secure CS, to do more harass damage, and once you stun them, you can obviously click them and these kinds of things. It can be very effective in that way. But the main way you're going to be using this is later on in the game, especially once you have your dragon form, and the Dragon Tail changes a little bit when you do pop your ultimate. So your ultimate is Elder Dragon form. When I pop it and it's level 1, I turn into this green dragon here, and then my Dragon Tail changes a little bit. So now it's actually a ranged stun. So a little projectile comes out and hits the enemy. So keep in mind that's good for obviously hitting people from range. You don't actually have to get, right up melee range. You don't have to get up right to melee range with them, but it is a projectile. So it doesn't come out instantly. They can, potentially BKB it or dodge it, these kinds of things. Puck could phase shift, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit stronger because of the range, but also a little bit weaker because it's not instant. So that's Dragon Tail. Now back to the Elder Dragon form specifically. So level 1, I am a green dragon here. And with this green dragon, level 1, you get extra like bonus poison damage. So you can see I'll attack the axe there, and then he is taking this corrosive breath damage, 20 damage per second. So this is good not only for like canceling blinks and other things like that and doing more damage over time in general, but it's really, really good against towers. This is the main way that you're going to be pushing. So you're going to pop this almost as soon as you get it in the laning stage, especially from the mid lane. Maybe you're going to wait a little bit till you get that catapult or a wave pushing in the off lane, but otherwise you're just going to be attacking the tower. Even one attack does a decent amount of damage. You're just going to keep applying that corrosive breath, and that's mainly how you're going to be taking towers. Then level 2, we'll level this up. You get the red dragon. So now I'm the red dragon, and the main thing that this has is, I'll spawn a dummy target here for you to see, is that this has splash damage. Basically, kind of like a mini battle fury, kind of like a ranged battle fury. So this can be really good, obviously, for clearing creep waves in addition to your breathe fire, but also just doing more damage in team fights if people are grouped up. It's pretty obvious. Just a little bit of an extra thing for this hero. This hero's not great against like PL or illusion heroes, but this can just add a little bit of extra kind of AoE damage to that, because you do have this AoE breathe fire, you do have this this splash damage here with the red dragon, and then you also have another kind of AoE damage ability in your shard, which I'll show you here in a second. So that is the red dragon. Now level 3, let's level up to level 3. And we'll pop the dragon form. Again, we get the blue dragon. So this is really powerful because this actually adds like a slow in addition to your splash damage. So now we can see I'll attack this dummy target here, and now everything in that AoE is being slowed because there's this additional slow that you get from your right clicks with the frost dragon. So it's like this mini Scotty basically that you have, and it's very, very hard for this axe to move, to escape, to run after me, to get away, all these kinds of things. So it's very powerful in that way because you get all of the added stacks here. You get the corrosive breath, the splash attack, and the frost breath with the blue dragon. You can see actually all these things scale individually with each level as well, and then you can finally get the 4th dragon form, which is with his Ags. So you can see if you buy Ags here, it actually upgrades all of the abilities here, the corrosive breath, the splash attack, and the slow, and it makes them even better, and it gives you a couple other things too. So now I'm attacking this axe. I'm slowed. He's slowed even more. It's doing even more splash damage. It's actually insane what this black dragon offers. It's really, really good. The other thing that it does is it gives you extra magic resistance, 25% magic resistance, and free pathing. So now we can actually walk over cliffs here. It's like a mini Night Stalker ultimate. It's really, really good. This black dragon is super good. You're not going to get it like first item or anything, but it is generally good, especially later on into the game. When you buy this before you actually have max level here, you just get an extra level. So if I have level 1 green dragon and I buy Ags, I'll just get level 2 red dragon. And so on and so forth. Level 2, I'll have level 3, and then once you have that level 3, that's when you'll get the black dragon. So just keep that in mind. So that's the Aghanim Scepter. Very good, especially later on once you get that 3rd level in your dragon form. And then lastly, we're going to look at the Ag Shard. This is one of the reasons this hero has come back into the meta, and that's because this Fireball is very good. So you get the Ag Shard, you get another ability. It's this Fireball that you can lay down in an AoE, and it does a significant amount of burn damage. So now you have this, you have your potential splash damage from level 2, and you have your Breathe Fire. So this is good not only for, doing damage in fights, it's really good for farming. You can clear creep waves extremely quickly with this. But the other thing this hero does is you often buy Blink Dagger. So you can pop your ultimate, you jump in, you blink, you breathe fire, you lay down your fireball. Now this hero's slowed, they're taking damage over time, you're clicking them, you're doing more damage over time with your green dragon, all this kind of stuff. This hero can dish out a significant amount of damage, and even later in the game, you can buy things like AC. You can even potentially go dataless, all this kind of stuff for some right click. This hero can be very, very effective at right clicking. You're good at initiation. At initiation, you buy BKB. You're hard to kill. You're tanky. All these kinds of things. You have a good single target stun. All this kind of things. This hero's a great all-around hero, like I talked about. So that's Dragon Knight. Those are all of his abilities. Now let's jump into a game and see how he's played. Now we jumped to a replay here of Abed playing Dragon Knight mid, and this hero's laning stage is rather straightforward, rather simple. You can see he's getting the level 1 Breathe Fire there so that he can secure his CS, and then from there it's honestly relatively straightforward and simple. You just secure your CS, you get a little bit of harass damage on the enemy with that ability, and then they obviously do less right-click damage, so you can just outlast hit them, and then level 2 you're going to be getting your Dragon Blood, and then level 3 you're probably going to get it as well, and then once you have 2 points in that, there's almost nothing the enemy can do to you. You're going to win trades every time. You have insane regen, you have that extra armor. You see this lane, he actually goes for Stick instead of Quelling Blade. That's largely because of the Storm matchup. He's just going to get more regen out of that, and he already can last it pretty much effectively anyway. You can see there he's losing out on a couple last hits early on, but then once he gets some more levels, he's going to win these trades pretty effectively and pretty straightforward. So the one thing I will say about the laning stage is, especially from the mid lane, you don't buy bottle in this hero, even if you're mid lane. From the off lane, obviously, you're pretty much going to do the exact same thing. You're just obviously never going to get bottle almost any time, but the reason why you don't get it is because you have that innate built-in regen from Dragon Blood, so you're just going to be getting Soul Ring instead eventually. He goes for 2 bracers here before Soul Ring, but then he'll eventually get Soul Ring. You see he has it queued up so that you can use that HP regen as mana as well with the Soul Ring. But you can see how once he hits that level 4 timing, he gets at least 1 point in stun, which is definitely possible. And something you may want to do in almost every game, just so we can get that extra harass damage out there on the Storm. You can see how the Storm could lane early on, but now once he has all this harass damage, he's just actually almost threatening kills on the Storm. And there's nothing the Storm can do. No matter how much the Storm clicks him, no matter how many spells he uses, it doesn't matter. Look at this regen. He also has 1k HP, almost 1100 HP at level 5. Like, this is ridiculous at 4 minutes. So this is a perfect example of how to play DK mid. It's just straightforward, simple. The laning stage should go this well in almost every single game. So now we jumped ahead a little bit here, and he just hit level 6 off of that last creep wave, and then he immediately pops his dragon form and starts harassing the tower. And this is exactly what you want to do. You want to try to get this ultimate, your level 6, before this catapult comes out, and then let the catapult survive. Make sure that you're tanking the tower or your creeps are tanking the tower so that the catapult can live, and then you can get insane harass damage out on this tier 1. Now, you can potentially take it with your first ultimate in many games, especially if you have someone like a Enchantress come here and help. So he's going to take this tier 1 tower before 6 minutes, which is absolutely ridiculous. You might not be able to do that every single game. You can do it some games for sure, but you're almost always going to be able to get this tier 1 tower before 10 minutes with your second or third ultimate usage. And that's the main way that you want to be thinking about DK in the mid lane especially, is you're going to have a very easy laning stage. You're very hard to kill. And then once you hit level 6, it's just pressure that tower as much as possible, because that mid tier 1 is so important. In the off lane, the same thing applies. In that first time that you hit level 6, just push the wave in with your Breathe Fire. Get damage on that tower, because those early towers are super important. They can put a lot of pressure on the enemy. It kind of collapses the map in on them. Now that triangle is opened up. Like, he can just go around the map, do whatever he wants. He can push the mid wave in. He can go gank like we just saw there. That's exactly how you want to be playing DK early on in the game, especially once you hit that level 6 timing. That's really, really good from Abed. The perfect example of how to play DK mid. Now we jumped ahead only a couple minutes here again, and you can see he gets his second dragon form available, and he just goes bottom and immediately starts pressuring the tower. He's basically saying, I already took the mid tier 1, we're going to bring a bunch of heroes here, I'm kicking you out of this lane, I'm level 8, this Rubik's level 4, there's nothing you can do, you cannot stop me from taking this tower, I'm going to pressure the map, take the towers, and this is exactly what Dragon Knight does, especially from the mid lane, but like I said, even from the off lane you can do this. And so I just wanted to show you this briefly, even though it's similar to what we just saw. It's just that when your dragon form is off cooldown early on in the game, you need to be popping it, pushing waves and pushing towers. Like, you have to do it. You cannot waste this early timing, because right now the enemy is so weak compared to you. Like, they just cannot deal with you. They would probably have to bring their entire team to try to deal with this hero. So you need to be able to take these towers, and then you collapse the map, and you can literally just win the game for your team off of this early pressure with this hero. Now, he's had his Blink Dagger for a little bit, but the first couple ganks didn't really go as planned. They were kind of awkward and weird because the enemy was like counter ganking. It was kind of awkward. So anyway, I fast forward to this point to show you how effective this hero can be with this Blink Dagger timing and ganking just in general. So I wanted to show you kind of the combo or the way to gank with this hero, how to think about ganking on the hero. So they smoke up, they look for an aggressive play, they see the enemy with a ward, he just jumps in, Dragon Tails immediately, puts his fireball down, and then his breathe fire as well, and you can see how much damage this actually does. It does a ton of damage to the off-lane Mars here, and this is the perfect example of how, honestly, threatening this hero can be in general with this Blink Dagger. That's kind of all you need. You can see he has his treads, he has his bracers, his soul ring, and then blink, and that's all he really needs. And he has 2,700 HP. He can jump into an insanely long duration stun and dish out a ton of damage with this shard, which is a really good timing as well. This shard is a great damage dealing ability in team fights, but also to clear waves. You can see, obviously, they get the gank off there on the Storm. So it's any hero that is, you know, easily picked off with this Dragon Tail. You can just isolate people and just destroy them. It's absolutely ridiculous. Unfortunately for the enemy team, obviously, I didn't even know this was going to happen, but the Marcy abandoned. I guess he was disconnected for too long. So, unfortunately, it's going to be an easy game, but still, this is just a great example of how effective this hero can be at isolating people, picking them off, you know, selecting one target and just saying you're going to die and dealing a ton of damage, while also just being super tanky and hard to bring down in general as well in the mid game. That is pretty much how to play Dragon Knight, to be honest. I mean, if we just watch what he's doing here, just pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You're running around the map, you're blinking in, you're stunning people, using your abilities, you're super hard to kill, hard to bring down. Once you have BKB, it's like, how do you kill this hero? He's just generally good all around. You can pressure the map really good early on, and then you can scale pretty well into the later game. Once you get this blink BKB, you're generally going to be going for that early to initiate, to be a good fighter, and then you can scale into more damage. He looks like he goes for Orchid here, but you can always go for Silver Edge, you can go for AC, you can go for Daedalus, you can go for other things like this. So that is my DK guide. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple hero. Good all-around hero, I think, for new players to try to play and enjoy, and especially to learn Dota. Pretty strong, tanky, powerful hero. So as always, guys, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. Join the Discord if you haven't already for replay reviews on Friday and community days on Saturday. Join the Patreon if you haven't already to support me in general if you want to see more videos like this in the future, or if you want coaching, I offer coaching there as well. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.